This part of the films shows Operation Overlord, which commenced on the 6th of June 1971, so called because that was the 27th anniversary of D-Day in Europe. From the camera's point here, we're looking down from where the task force headquarters had moved to the top of a hill called Courtney Hill, which was quite high, as you can see, and it was just on the border between Phuoc Tuy Province and Long Tan Province, in other words, on the northern border of our normal area of operations. Moving the task force headquarters from Nui Dat to the top of this hill was a fairly major operation, and it took place between dawn on the 6th of June and the headquarters opened at noon that day. And we were congratulated by the commander of the 173rd Airborne Brigade on getting it done so quickly and efficiently. These shots show various members of the task force headquarters going about their business, constantly reinforcing the sandbagging around the headquarters because there were fairly heavy enemy units in the area. Essentially, the aim was to pin down and destroy the 33rd North Vietnamese Regiment and elements of D445 Battalion, which had moved into the hilly, mountainous and timbered areas of the province border. We had in support, beside our own two battalions, an American battalion, the 2nd 8th Battalion of the 1st Cavalry Division, Air Mobile. The aim was to block and sweep using the 3 battalions to try and pin down the 33rd Regiment and D445 Battalion if we could find them. Here you can see all the antenna sticking up from various headquarters and locations in the task force headquarters, and the cover put up for people to sleep in when it was pouring with rain every night. We were to go on during this operation to lose 8 soldiers when the Defence and Employment Platoon, there on the right was Major Jim McIntyre, who was the task force legal officer, incidentally. We were to lose 8 soldiers when the clearing patrol going around this headquarters at dusk was ambushed by the enemy. An armoured personnel carrier hit and blown up, not helped by the fact that the Claymore mines being carried on it also detonated. Looking down here is onto the helicopter landing pad. I think that's Major McIntyre as well. Looking down from the headquarters there was onto the helicopter landing pad. Here we've got the armoured vehicles in situation in the headquarters, acting as the headquarters of the armoured elements that were operating, and as wireless relay stations and all that sort of thing. We had the full signals equipment of the headquarters up here, which had been lifted up in containers underneath Chinook helicopters. There are some of the diggers trying to make a hot meal in their mugs over hexamine stoves. Hexamine being the little white tablets that you set fire to and with a match and they burned. Looking out there is the Courtenay rubber plantation, the French rubber plantation, which throughout the war remained in operation. Under what arrangements with the enemy, I can only guess. This is looking down onto one of the fire support bases around Courtenay Hill, which were firing in support of the operation. I'm now going on a reconnaissance by helicopter to see what was going on, insofar as you can't really see much from the air except the bigger installations like the fire support bases. I can't now remember which one was which. There's a helicopter on the ground, an Iroquois helicopter on the ground there. I think it's an Iroquois. So I still couldn't identify that place. But there we can see some field guns. So that was either New Zealand or Australian artillery. You can see the vast amount of jungle there on that border, which was extremely difficult to penetrate and get through. And later on, after Operation Overlord concluded, some of the elements of the two other Australian battalions that were involved came under very, very heavy attack when they came in contact with fixed positions of the 33rd Regiment. One platoon became at one stage completely surrounded and cut off and had to be rescued by a tank. And in another operation, a company became cut off and surrounded, and all its platoon headquarters were out of action. So once again, this illustrated the severity of the fighting that went on at this stage. You just saw me once again doing what I thought was always a bit dangerous, flying around in a very, very light helicopter. That's the task force headquarters on top of Courtenay Hill, and the road there running down to the helicopter pad at the foot of the hill. Well, it's not really the foot, it's an area cleared halfway up the hill. The engineers had done a massive job of preparing this hill for the occupation of the task force headquarters, which, as you can see, required quite a large, quite relatively flat area. The command post there is in the middle. And there's a photograph of me in the command post in the official history book, Fighting to the Finish. Here we're flying around at the level of the headquarters on top of the hill. I'm not sure what T meant now. Might have been for smaller helicopters, I'm not sure.